So, welcome back to the LGX Online. Of course, it is still going to be another long night here, but for the moment, we do have Jerome Flynn on with us. How are you doing tonight?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. Excited to be here. Nice to connect with everybody. It's a bit strange because I can't see anybody except you, Tyler. Yeah, it's who'd have thought we'd be having online conferences like this a year ago?
Yeah, definitely. I don't think anybody expected it. How have you been holding up during these times?
Have you got a couple of hours?
Yeah, definitely. I've got all the time in the world.
No, I'm good. I'm lucky to be able to. I live in the country by the sea, so there's good air. I've got a bit of land. We've got a garden with vegetables, and there's some friends here so we've got a little community. We kind of run a little center, so I've got nature connection. I'm really lucky. I'm not stuck in a town in a flat. I count my blessings. I am pretty amazed at what's happening on the planet, and essentially I think I'm feeling positive about it because I feel like we needed. If we hadn't had this, then I think the momentum was so strong of where we were taking ourselves that we would have just keep on headed for the iceberg, if you like. And I feel we needed this, even though it's really weird and quite tragic and desperately upsetting for a lot of people. I've lost some close ones to COVID. But I do think that it's an opportunity for us to kind of rethink how we're living on this planet, and it's a chance for us to turn it around. So that's what I tell myself on the good days.
Yeah, definitely. To be honest, I do have to put a small disclaimer out there. I've actually never seen Game of Thrones, but of course that is probably the role that you're most well known for. Sorry for that, but yeah, I've actually never been into it. I have a bunch of friends that have followed it very, very closely, but yeah, I don't know. I just never really got into it. Never really started streaming it. Even I haven't seen one single episode. But kind of doing my prep for this talk that we have tonight, I did find out that even you've been on a hiatus here and there, kind of away from acting and away from that career to focus on a couple of different things. And of course, you already kind of touched bases with it. Big focus for you on climate change and global warming as well.
Well, I mean, if I compare myself to the amount of heart and time that people are giving to that, I'm barely scratching the surface, to be honest. But you know, there's nothing more important than trying to make sure that we turn things around so that, you know, the next generations have a decent planet to live on. And you know, so there is nothing more important to me than how are we doing, you know, on this planet with each other, in relationship with all living beings. Because we've been going off track, you know, for a good many hundred years. We started kind of becoming untethered from our more natural, connected to nature, indigenous selves. And, you know, in Europe, we're so untethered, we kind of think that this is how life is and should be. And yet, luckily, we've still got indigenous people with us that have managed remarkably to keep their culture and keep their tradition and keep their, you know, their wisdom. And they've been telling us for many hundred years that we need to come back to our connection to nature rather than our dominance over it, but our, you know, to the understanding that we're an interconnected web of life, and we can't treat Mother Earth like a resource just to give us what we think we need or want. So there's a huge process going on at the moment, and it's quite a time to be alive, because it's definitely a lot more important than my career, that's for sure. Um, Even though my career has been very kind to me. Yeah, what's more important than how we live with each other and with the natural world?
Yeah, so already kind of starting into the first couple of questions that we had. I did see one question earlier. Let me find it again. Michael was asking, what is your dream as a kid? Was it to become an actor? Was it to get into that space? I know that your family is rooted in that area as well. Was that always kind of set from the get-go?
No, definitely not from the get-go. I plonked out of mum and I was tap dancing. No, it wasn't until I think I was, when I was 15, I went on stage and something happened. There's a magic that can happen, that does happen in live theater, in that relationship between the audience and the performers, and you're all in something together. And something happened for me, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do before then or what I was good at, but I got the bug then. I had been thinking about something to do with wildlife, and still, I think maybe if I could go back, I might choose something like a wildlife cameraman or a environmentalist. I think that's probably why I'm trying to catch up with that now. Yeah, so I was about 15 when it got me.
Connected to that as well, we had a question from Tommy ahead of the event asking, what would be your advice for upcoming new actors, and especially actors, for example, from a country like Luxembourg, which of course is a small country, and how could those actors make it big?
Wow. My advice to anybody, I guess, who is thinking they want to become an actor would be to you need to be really passionate about it, but don't put all your eggs in that basket. I would say, especially in these days, it's really important to have other skills, other qualifications, and not to define yourself. If you're going into acting, don't define yourself by your success or lack of it, because there's big traps. You can, especially probably more so if you actually become successful, you can become disconnected and untethered from the real world, whatever that is. So that's but making it big, well, I'd say be wary about the desire to make it big. Be cautious of that, because it doesn't actually make you happy. I found that out. You got to go. I reached a degree of fame quite early on, but I learned from that wasn't going to be what brought me true fulfillment. And my father and grandfather were in acting, both actors, and I could see how they allowed themselves and their moods and how they felt about themselves to sway, up and down as to whether they were in work or not, and they would affect people's relationships with them. And I said to myself, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be a slave in that way. So this is the main advice I would give in terms of how to get into a position where you can be working. I guess I don't know enough about the drama schools, but if there are good drama schools in the Netherlands, then it's really good to train, to get to do some plays and learn how to use a camera, because that would be happening now in drama school. If you've got some good ones there. Otherwise, there are some good ones over in London. I don't know. I mean, God knows how easy it is now. I would hope if you were able to audition for a London drama school that, I don't know what the EU situation is. By the way, I'm really ashamed. and very sad about what's happened around Brexit. I think it's desperately sad for everybody, to be honest. But that's my opinion. So it depends how your drama schools are in Luxembourg. But it could do, quite a lot of foreign students will come over and train at drama in London. And there are some good ones there, or in England or Britain. Get somebody to help you with auditions. Don't take yourself too seriously.
Right. Yeah, of course, the whole Brexit situation, another part that is still unknown. How is it going to continue forward? The deal hasn't really been solved yet. I mean, I have family in the UK as well, and kind of a shame that a lot of them voted to leave, actually. But yeah, that's just how it is. And I guess they didn't consider that it could make life a lot more difficult for us family here in Europe. But yeah, let's see how that ends. And I'm sure it's not going to be as easy.
Doesn't sound like it.
Yeah,
it doesn't sound like it. But then again, hey ho, we just have to. We're going through this process, aren't we? And hopefully we'll all come through it. And there'll be a time where there's a beautiful flow between all the countries. And I mean, yeah, it's ridiculous, this idea of us needing to kind of return to some kind of sovereignty. What would that mean for a country anyway?
I'm
not sure.
Yeah, my biggest hope was just that the UK just wouldn't break apart from that point. But that's not the main point that we're going to talk about tonight. Of course, kind of bringing it back to what you touched base on earlier with, of course, well, you had that freedom to then kind of focus on a lot of different things because you had that stability going. I think, especially with those young people chasing their dream to the point where they don't have any other options, and as soon as that fails, then that doesn't really come around. I'm not sure if you've actually had eyes on the games or esports area of the world, but there a lot of young kids are saying, well, I want to become a professional, and try their best to do so, but only a small fraction actually manage. And I guess that's the same thing with acting and show business there.
Yeah, it would be. It's, I imagine with the gaming world, it's probably the odds are probably even more stacked against you, the amount of people that are doing that. So the most important thing, I think, for somebody's well-being and future is to be, not putting your eggs in one basket, and connecting with something that's real, that actually matters to you, because acting in a way is acting. It's great and it's important to tell stories, but it's a bit like gaming as well. We can get lost in there, and there's no guarantees in both of those. Not that there is guarantees anywhere in life, but just have, I'd say, don't rely on one thing, especially these days, because I mean, it's because it's so unknown. Everything's so unknown at the moment. But get a few tricks up your sleeve.
Yeah, definitely. One thing that I've seen in the chat a couple of times now is a question from Daniel and a couple of other people is to ask you about your opinion about the last season of Game of Thrones.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, my opinion. I think that such was the investment, the very strong investment by so many people in the program, and the quality that had come in the first 7 seasons, and this build up towards the end. I don't think there's no way they were going to keep everybody happy. There is no way. So I'm not surprised that there were quite a few that you'd say over here, quite a few, but there were people that weren't happy with how it went. I think there could have been more time given, and we could have had maybe 2 more episodes to stretch it out a bit. But ultimately, and I can nitpick bits, but I find it hard to do that when I know Dan and David and the job that they made of making that series successful, because there was a great skill to it. And the books, if you look at George Martin's books, he had great reviews for 3 seasons, and then they went downhill. Dan and Dave managed to keep that standard going throughout, and some people got disappointed at the end. But I personally, in terms of where it ended at the end, I thought that was a really good result in terms of who ended up on the throne. There was a good metaphor in there. There's a lot of strong metaphors for where we're at now in terms of teaming, coming together, and kind of putting down the sword and collaborating in order to actually sort out the mess that we're in. It was a very strong, important story in there. But yeah, I understand. Yeah, if why people might have wanted it to go differently, but I think it could have gone. I think they did a good job. That's what I feel.
All right. Yeah.
There's a lot of people on the chat disagreeing with me.
No, actually, we didn't really see too many reactions from it just yet. I saw another question that just came up, was what do you like to do in your free time when you're not around acting or trying to better the world?
Trying to better the world. It's a good question.
I think especially in these times, a lot has changed.
Yeah. What different things I've been doing? Actually, I've been doing an online course, kind of called Remembering, which is to do with a kind of going back ancestrally and looking at what our ancestors got up to, and especially the ones that, I've got ancestors in my mother's line, Sir Oliver Cromwell, who was quite responsible for, creating that English national empirical identity. So I think it's important. So I've been doing this course, connecting with and trying to understand how all that happened and the trauma that led to us going over to America and creating the trauma there. And because we're all living in the trauma of being disconnected from our original indigenous kind of connected to the land livingness. And once that we become disconnected from that, and then the cycle repeats itself of being colonized and then colonizing others. So I've been trying to understand that and not come to peace with it, but actually just to face into it. I feel it's important. I feel it's really important for us to do that, especially a lot of the Western European cultures that had, there's a few of us that had very dominating colonizing forces. So I've been doing that. I've been doing some voice work. I've been doing stuff around here. I've done a couple of sleep stories. I do this sleep stories for the Calm app. I've been doing a little bit of writing. I've been in the garden, walking on the coast. I'm very lucky. Got a very beautiful coast here in West Wales. Going for walks with friends, swimming, playing games with my family online sometimes.
Yeah. I read about the fact that you're living in Wales now, and I was actually quite happy about that, just because I have family over there as well.
In Wales?
And yeah, but more towards Cardiff,
Okay.
Pontypool area.
Uh-huh.
So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So
It's a good place.
Always great. Yeah. And love it over there as well, and a lot of culture there to be had as well. But yeah, actually, the thing that you just brought up with Calm, we actually had a message in the chat earlier asking how did that come around, and that they were actually listening to those stories as well.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, yeah, I think they're great, Calm. And they got in contact with me because they had seen. I've spoken quite a bit about meditation and how important it was for me. It utterly changed my life, learning to meditate, and changed the way I understand myself and how I relate to life. Don't know what I would have done without it, I gotta say. And so Calm is an app that has a lot of aspects to it. And there's meditation, exercises, and lots of great stuff. And one part is the sleep stories. So you get these lovely stories that last about half an hour, with lots of different people reading them. And they came along about 3 years ago, and I started reading. And I really like that, actually. It's nice in the work to do something that also crosses over with something that's very important to me. So I do recommend Calm, actually, because they got some good stuff on there.
Yeah, I've actually tried that out, and I was very surprised at how well meditation actually works as well. Didn't believe it at first, but it kind of grew on me as well. But we had a couple of questions from Sarah in the chat asking, do you have any other conventions planned when it comes up down to online conventions? And also, second question from her, what are your favorite vegan dishes? Two areas there.
Do I have any convention? I don't have any other online conventions planned as yet. Favorite vegan dishes. Well, I mean, I love food, so it could be any number of things, but I think I would still choose like a vegan Thai curry. I love a vegetable Thai curry. Would be my favorite, but I love just kind of improvising, actually, and throwing things together with different flavoring and but Thai food. So she asked for two. Oh, I make a really mean, like, winter vegetable stew with veggie dumplings. So veggie dumplings with some like yeast extract. It could be Marmite, but that's a bit strong. There's another one so yeast extract in the middle of the dumplings, kind of simmering away on top of the stew with beetroot and parsnip and pumpkin. That's another good one for the winter.
So then next thing coming up would be a Jerome Flynn cooking show then.
I do love cooking.
Yeah.
Who knows? Let's see if we go there.
So do you have anything planned coming up that you can talk about right now? Talking about shows, movies, anything like that?
Well, I did just actually literally just said yes to a movie. But I don't know whether I'm allowed to talk about it yet. But it's a new Gerard Butler movie, action movie. Literally, though, I haven't signed the contract, so I better not say too much, except it's going to film in March. So I got a couple of months. I'll do a bit of preparing for that. That'll be fun. And then there's something else that I'm part of, a small team developing with one of the producers who I did Ripper Street with. It's a nice idea for a TV series. And I'm hoping that we're going to be able to develop something there and There's a writer who's doing the scripts right now. So, that those things can take some time, but hopefully later on in the year, that might come to fruition.
All right. Yeah. How is it for you between doing TV shows and movies? How does that differ in sense of production?
Well, I mean, I haven't done that many movies, but now because of Thrones, there are movies coming along, which just wouldn't have been there a few years ago. But to be honest, Game of Thrones, because most of the TV I had done would have been quite different than a movie. A lot of the TV I've done before, the BBC shows, you're moving very quickly. You might do 7 scenes in a day, 6 or 7 scenes in a day. Game of Thrones, you do like 1 scene in a day, 1 or 2, but sometimes you take 2 days to do 1 scene. So it was like a movie, the whole thing, and what went into it was like making a movie. So yeah, I'd say, when I went and did John Wick, it was kind of even quicker than Game of Thrones. But it depends on the budget and how much time they've got. But so not a lot of difference really now, but if I went back and did like something like Ripper Street, that was full on work. I'd have to you got to go in really tight, knowing your lines and prepared to jump, do 6 or 7 scenes in a day. It's actually, and sometimes they're making script changes, up until the day before, and you're having to learn, and you're on the edge. Sometimes I remember writing bits of the script on the table, or getting people to hold it up if I've got a lot to say and a lot to learn, and it's changed a lot. Whereas with Game of Thrones, we knew most of the time you had a couple of months to learn your stuff, you knew what you were doing. So there's quite a lot of difference in how it can be. Depends on the budget and the time they have.
All right. So if you would have to choose a song to be a theme song for your life, basically, is there a song that you would choose?
There may be. Well, I don't. There's nothing. Is there a song I'd choose?
Putting you right on the spot there.
Is there a song I would choose? Probably. There probably would be, but I need time to think about. But
all right,
there's a couple I sang in the days when I used to sing with my friend Robson. That were one or two of them were a couple of my favorite songs from back then. One was Up on the Roof. I'm not saying we necessarily did a great job of it, but it's a lovely old song sung by the Drifters. So we got to sing that again. But that's a beautiful song. It's about kind of getting up on high up and getting perspective, rather than being lost in one's little personal concerns. So it's that's a good one. But that's a hard one to be put on the spot with.
Yeah.
There are so many extraordinarily beautiful songs, and I would need a bit of time to think about it.
All right. Yeah, I think it is a tough question anyways, but it was another one of that Sarah brought up.
There's a song, it might be categories. There's a song, like romantic songs. There's a song by Crowded House called It's Only Natural. That's one of my favorite songs. I love putting on and singing along to. And that's a kind of love song, but it's an upbeat love song.
All right.
I think that's a Sarah. I think that might be a Sarah who I know quite well, who comes along.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Loads of love to you, Sarah. Nice to have you here tonight.
Yeah, she also just said, this is not really a question, but since you don't have any online conventions, can I just thank you for everything this year? And I can't wait to hopefully see you again very soon.
Oh, bless you. Me too.
So we did have another question from Julia asking, would you say your character from Game of Thrones, Bronn, is similar to you in reality?
Well, I mean, no, in most ways, no. But obviously, I think with Bronn, there were quite a lot of him. There are aspects of me in him. If I was kind of in a slightly wilder world and hadn't had the parenting that I'd had, or the conscience, and maybe hadn't done so much meditation, then I could have ended up more like Bronn. But for better or worse, I had a good upbringing. He didn't. He's got father issues. I think his dad left early. So, and I think his dad, I think he probably saw his dad kill somebody with an axe quite early on. So I never experienced that, thank God. I had a very loving upbringing. But there's something in his sense of humor, which I really could connect with. And it's something that I like to think I brought, a lot of my best friends are Northerners with a very kind of sardonic Northern sense of humor, that dryness. And they had a big influence on me. So that's kind of within me. I'd say there's a rogue in me. I don't allow him to kind of be completely free, but I can appreciate the rogue there in Bronn. So it wasn't hard. It was quite easy to tap into that. Like I say, in another life, I think I probably would have been a lot more like Bronn. And I haven't killed any babies. But to be truthful, I don't think Bronn did. I think he said to Tyrion, I think he was clever because I think he kind of said stuff to Tyrion that he knew Tyrion would like to hear and kind of thrill Tyrion and fascinate him. I don't think Bronn, but I think I had a version of Bronn that perhaps the writers and George Martin didn't. And I suppose if I was writing it, if I'd had a choice in that last season, I would have had him go down and hook up with everybody and join in that battle and kind of turn up next to Tyrion or Jaime and save their lives, and be a bit of a hero, maybe die a hero's death. That's what I wanted to happen. But the writers, Dan and Dave, were going more on the line of what probably Bronn in the books was, that he was going to go for himself and get what he could out of the situation. And he was, Cersei. Anyway, I'm defending him now. But
and so that's something that I also wanted to kind of get into. Is it something where you as an actor can then also have influence on the role, or kind of the way that the role continues?
Well, I think on a long-running series, whether direct influence or just because of the way you're playing him, and anybody who played Bronn, if it hadn't been me, he would have ended up as there would have been different nuances to the character. So what was great, there's a couple of lines, there's a couple of things, there's things I would get in, I managed to get in, which they, if they liked suggestions, they allowed them in. And, I got to know him more and they got to know him more, the Bronn that was coming through me. So you do have an influence. But they were such good writers, that most of the time I'd turn up and I'd just know that a scene was just going to roll really well. And then some shows, you can have much more of an influence, especially if it's depending what state the script is in. And if it's from an early stage, like I said, this show that I'm working on at the moment. I'm joining it early, so which is really nice because they want me to have a lot of input, and they've got me in mind. So yeah, it depends really.
All right, so I've actually already had the producer in my ear for a couple of minutes now, saying, "Okay, let's see if we can wrap it up," because we still have a couple of things to go. But I mean, thank you for taking the time. Thank you for taking a little bit of your time out of the evening and being here. I think everybody in chat certainly enjoyed, and so did I. So yeah.
Thank you. Thanks. That was nice. It felt like very free and different than most panels. It's nice to be able to chat freely about things, and
yeah,
thank you everybody for coming along, and for being really cool fans. And yeah, I hope wishing you all a really lovely Christmas. I hope you get to see some of your family, and that that we come out of this COVID situation sooner than later, and the spring sees a whole new world unfolding, a whole new beginning, because it's up to us. We got to make it happen, really. I think we can create something beautiful now.
Yeah, definitely. I think we all have to remain sensible in that sense as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for that. I hope that you guys have a great Christmas as well. And yeah, before we actually head to the next break, though, do remember LGX Convention on Instagram. There's a little giveaway going on thanks to our sponsor for this part of the show. They're giving away a chair, an office chair. There you go, House of Lannister office chair, gaming chair. Really, really nice chair. I don't have the exact same one, but I do also have a Secret Lab Omega chair at home, and really comfortable. And yeah, looks really, really nice with that color scheme as well. And with that then, of course, thanks again for taking the time. We'll be back after the break, as we do still have our award show coming up. So see you then on the other side.
Okay. Bye.